Hi, my name is Carlotta Patterson. This is my final assignment for educational leadership. I'm a middle school science teacher in Sublette, Kansas, and my master's degree will be in education with an emphasis in science. The first article I read was a literature review on racial and ethnic tolerance. I chose this article because I currently live in an area with three distinct cultural groups: the Hispanic group, a group of German immigrants who have come from Mexico, and then the traditional Anglo-Saxon or white American. These groups coexist, but only on the surface level. You don't really see relationships between students or adults outside of the school classroom. So I wondered if I could do things in my classroom to increase the compassion and respect among the groups. The research has found that simply putting ethnic groups together doesn't increase tolerance. Friendship building opportunities must be encouraged. Some suggestions were to have multicultural celebrations and to include parents in these celebrations. So an idea I had was to ask the Hispanic and German parents to provide a traditional meal for the football team. In our town, it's common for parents to sign up for a Thursday before a football or basketball game on Friday and provide a meal for the team and the coaches. Um, the Hispanic and German parents don't typically volunteer, and the booster club members just assume that this is because they don't want to help or participate. I don't really believe that is the case. So I think that this would be a good opportunity to sometimes celebrate our differences and encourage some friendships in that area. This article also addresses the need for staff development in the area of racial and ethnic tolerance and makes a strong point of saying that we never have enough staff development here. I then read two articles on gender bias. The first one is a literature review and the second one a research study. The literature review focused on obstacles to women in educational leadership. After reading the previous article, I found it interesting that, depending on culture, some families may put a son's education before a daughter's when the cost of the education is a factor. The leadership styles of men and women also play a role. Male leaders tend to be task-oriented. They value winning and have a take-charge attitude. Women leaders, on the other hand, focus more on building relationships and empowering others. Many people question the ability of women to make the tough decisions because of these differences. The article also suggested that women apply less frequently for leadership roles because of the balance of work and family life, and the fact that men recruit and hire other men more frequently than they do women. I was surprised to find that the strengths of women leaders seem to echo the recommendations of our textbook, and yet these very things, like empowering others and building relationships, are mentioned as the very traits keeping them out of leadership roles. The research article echoed the literature review when comparing the leadership styles of men and women. In an effort to be competitive for jobs, it said some women may pattern their individual style after men. This tends to not work in the long run. What I found interesting in the article was that they found mentoring to be crucial to becoming a successful leader, and that it's best for women to have a female mentor, which, again, if women are not in leadership roles, it's hard to find a mentor of the female gender. It also listed skills women could develop that would make them stronger candidates for leadership positions. Some of these skills were to plan your career path, develop confidence and determination, meet deadlines, and learn to delegate. I think I can help to develop leaders of both genders by giving them opportunities in the classroom to practice leadership. Typically assign roles for group work, and I need to be aware that I'm giving both boys and girls the chance to be the group leader. I can also help struggling group leaders develop the skills mentioned in this study, as well as those in our textbook. After reading about the gender gap as it pertains to women, I was intrigued when I found one that reviewed the literature about equality in education for boys. That's why I chose the fourth article. I was interested to find that an increase in research began in the 1990s to research the success of boys in education. I was taught in college to be aware of always calling on boys, having higher expectations in boys for science and math and so on. It connected to the other gender articles by finding that even when boys have lower achievement in school, they are still more successful at getting jobs and earning more than women as adults. The research agreed that more research should be done, especially on literacy in boys, and on the average population of boys, not just the extremely high achievers or the extremely low achievers. The study was from 2003, cautioned educators from adjusting literacy curriculum to be better suited to what boys normally prefer. I find it interesting that in 2014 the Common Core does just that. Standards are moving us drastically away from fiction towards informational nonfiction text. I'm not saying I disagree with that movement, just that I hadn't thought of it as being detrimental to the literacy gains that girls have made. My final article was on the effects of poverty in education. I found myself frustrated that this research suggested that by the time I see students as middle school age, the gap may be impossible to overcome. I hope that this article will help me be a better leader by continuing to encourage these parents that school attendance is important and that finishing their education and going on is the surest way to break the cycle of poverty. I can do that by sharing my story of overcoming poverty, as is suggested by the textbook. Our district participated last spring in a simulation of poverty, and that also helped me as a leader to understand better and identify more with students living in poverty and what they and their parents might be going through, even though I don't understand it as an adult. That concludes my assignment. Thank you for your time. I hope some of my thoughts were helpful to you.